Welcome to NovoEDTalks, where we reveal real-world strategies and expert insights from learning and development professionals. In every episode, we chat with practitioners, course designers, learning strategists, and business leads. We hear about their experiences in the learning industry and predictions for the profession and the trends that they're seeing. But before we get started, a little bit about NovoEd. Founded at Stanford's Social Algorithms Lab in 2012, NovoEd is a people-centric, capability-building platform that combines social and collaborative learning to drive performance readiness at scale. Through cohort-based experiences centered around human interaction, NovoEd taps into collective wisdom, placing each learner at the center of perspective, application, and expertise. Large enterprises such as 3M, GE, Marriott International, and Nestle partner with NovoEd to accelerate their critical initiatives, reconnect teams, and achieve rapid alignment through learning that is felt, experienced, and swiftly transformed into impact. Now, let's meet our guest for today's episode.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the NovoEDTalks podcast, a space for training trailblazers to get real. My name is Melissa Fisk. I'm the producer of the NovoEDTalks podcast, and today I'm joined by Michelle Goad, who is the Vice President of Talent Development at Delaware North. Michelle has been with Delaware North for over 4 years. Delaware North works with a wide variety of businesses touching hospitality, including but not limited to culinary businesses, front of the house, retail, lodging, and even sports. She has been in talent development for most of her career, touching talent acquisition, change management, recruiting, learning and development. Basically, you name it, she's done it when it comes to this space. She has also previously worked for automotive and specialty chemical industries, both at an enterprise and global level. Michelle, we are so excited to have you here today. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Awesome. Well, why don't you start by just telling us a little bit more about your role and your company?
Sure. So I'm part of Delaware North, as you had mentioned, and the heart of our company is really around hospitality. We have about 40,000 team members globally, and everything is really focused on creating experiences that delight the guests, that, make them memorable and make them wanting to return for more. We're in retail, lodging, certainly the culinary, working at sports service venues, our parks and resorts, gaming. So there's a very diverse portfolio, and as you can imagine, quite a bit of demand on the talent acquisition side to bring in talent as well as develop them. So I'm responsible for everything talent development. So once somebody is onboarded into the company, it's everything around our learning and development processes, tools, programs, leadership development, retention strategies, engagement, change management, certainly early career. We place a pretty big focus on early career talent and bringing in some specialized talent, particularly in our culinary discipline. And so wide variety of things. I think there's no shortage of exciting things to do, but really, for Delaware North, our EVP is really focused around connection, purpose, and growth. And that's really how we try to design a lot of our programs around that. I'm going to say around that philosophy.
I love that. That's awesome. And wow, just I can only imagine the different types of things that you're running into every day with talent acquisition, especially in that culinary space, where you have people that need to have like this very unique set of skills and talents there. Why don't you talk a little bit about, who these kind of learners and employees are that you oversee and what some of the challenges that they're facing are?
Sure. So, we have a workforce, as I mentioned, that expanding, across many different portfolios, but, we have team members that are seasonal, we have part-time, we have full-time, and also our salaried team members. And, our focus has really been on number one, onboarding them and making sure they have a real positive experience, their first week, their 30 days, 60, 90 days, and making sure they have the right tools and training coming in the door. So that has been a big focus for us. Another focus is really on, I would say, the hospitality, so how do I create that personalized, that engaging, that memorable experience? And so we are certainly working on some programs to elevate the skills of team members in hospitality. And then certainly I think number one request we get is for leadership development. So whether you're a frontline supervisor all the way to senior leaders, the team members are really looking to say, well, what's next for me? And how do I grow? How do I develop? How do I get those skills that are really going to help me be a successful leader? So, we've got an academy of programs that we've rolled out that really focus on honing those leadership development skills. And then we also focus on high performing teams and how do you build that high performing teams culture, where there's collaboration, there's cohesion. And so the team is really aligned and focusing on one goal, together as a team. And so it's kind of nice because it touches the individual, it touches the team, and then certainly we're touching, from a leadership development perspective and making sure all levels of leadership have the tools they need.
Yeah, absolutely. Those are definitely some big obstacles that we hear come up a lot. However, the hospitality focus is one that I think is probably obviously very kind of not unique, but something that you all take very, very seriously given what you do. Um,
Absolutely.
why don't you talk a little bit about how you're solving for some of those big challenges?
So some of that hospitality, it really gets into looking through the lens of your guest. And something we recently put together was a focus on how do you teach proactive empathy. So it's more than just delivering a service or a transaction, but it's to say, how do I spot and anticipate the needs of the guest? And then in the moment, if the guest is experiencing challenges or I want to do something extra, it's really being able to kind of get ahead and anticipate those needs. And so we're trying to teach a lot more around the interpersonal. It's one thing you can certainly serve a guest a meal, but it's what was that experience and how do they feel as part of getting that meal? And then that's something they'll certainly leave, talk to their family and friends and say, I had this most amazing experience, whether it's at a sports venue, it's at a restaurant, or certainly from a lodging perspective. That they're going to have that memorable experience. And that's really what we're trying to focus is on those interpersonal skills.
I love that. And I love that phrase, proactive empathy. That's so powerful. And I think no matter what industry you're in, right? Just we all ultimately work with other people. We could all, probably use doing that a little bit better, maybe. As the skill sets needed for success continue to shift, and obviously, like the hospitality space, I think that there's something so special about that because that what I was just saying, that human connection is always going to be there and super important. But just, as things are shifting, the tools we're using, how people are interacting, being on their cell phones all the time, all of this, right? What strategies does your team use to ensure that your workforce remains adaptable and prepared?
So we have to really help on the technology front. And so we have a variety of ways that, people can learn. So certainly there's always the in-person connection, but we just implemented a learning management system, which really focuses on, going online, getting the custom curated content when you need it, and almost like it's personalized to you. And so getting them comfortable saying, if I need, training on communication, or I need training on how to influence others, I don't have to kind of sit and wait for a classroom. I can go out and proactively get the learning myself and create those learning paths. And so, the beauty of having those systems is they start to do that for you as they kind of get to know what your preferences are. And then also starting to get a little bit in the AI space, and I think that's the custom curated learning. The systems are kind of smart. They get to know you, they get to know your preferences, just like your shopping preferences that you would do on Facebook or now TikTok. It's what is this person looking to do from them? And then they just start recommending content. And so getting team members excited around using that technology to say everything's at your fingertips. And so we're really trying to bring a lot of that in. And with the new launch of the system, all of our team members have access to it. And we've received really good feedback. And just having access to the training, the courses when I need it really goes a long way.
Yeah, absolutely. And it is, like I feel like once users kind of get in there and see how it is kind of custom to them or like proactively serving up things that they find interesting, it almost like starts to create this like motion of, yes,
Yes.
I want to keep doing it. So that's
Mhm.
great. How does your team assess and address skills gaps within the organization?
We have a pretty comprehensive, what we call talent review process. And so annually we look across certain positions, certain levels to say, what do we need, from a future capabilities in terms of roles, skills, leadership capabilities, and then where are we strong and where do we have gaps? And so a lot of that will help us inform what our learning and development strategy is. So we just finished a cycle of talent reviews, and it's the manager 101. It's the blocking, it's the tackling, it's the coaching, the feedback, the counseling, understanding the P&L, understanding how you can contribute to the financials of the business, hospitality. So you start to gather that as you really look at your workforce, and then you develop the strategy around those biggest priorities. And so that's kind of what we're tackling now. It's the hospitality, it's the manager 101, and then hoping to build a larger academy where, there's even more, I'm going to say, tools and resources like on change management or transformation and, what's that next level of skills.
Sure. I love that. And do you have a way to kind of measure the effectiveness of these programs? Do you have any kind of core KPIs that you look at?
Say number one, it's the engagement, and meaning, what is the retention rate? So if we're sending and we're making the investment in team members to go through the programs, are we retaining them? Number one, certainly through surveys, you could do a listening survey, and then promotion rates. So certainly looking at our leadership programs to say, are we moving people? Are we promoting them into bigger roles if we're putting them through this leadership training? And then certainly you can start to get into measures of NPS scores when you talk about hospitality. So you kind of have to break each one down saying, what are we trying to accomplish by having this program? And then let's make sure we have the right metrics that align to them.
Right, absolutely. That's come up before with other hospitality organizations is that NPS score, which I think is so great because yes, that's like the ultimate goal, right? That
Right.
everyone has that. So it's
Yep.
nice that y'all have that to kind of look at and be like, okay, how are we doing here? But I also love the promotion rates as a KPI. I think that's super important as well. Do you have an example of a specific case study of an L&D or mentoring initiative that really significantly impacted, overall employee performance?
I would say we have something called our Pinnacle Leadership Academy. And so we have a program for frontline, and then we also have a program for mid-level. And as part of that, we look at the retention scores, we look at promotion, but there's also a capstone project that is part of that where we form small groups of teams of 5 to 6, and we say, let's solve for a business issue, challenge, opportunity, whatever it may be. And so they go out in the organization to say, what are some of those common challenges and how do we solve for them? So it could be onboarding, it could be, hospitality, it could be a process improvement. They come back and present their suggestions and their recommendations. So not only are you getting them to apply the skills of what they've learned in the training to work as a team, but then you're also having the team come forward with possible solutions for maybe, a larger issue that needs to be solved. And so that's getting them in there, rolling their hands up. They're getting in the business, they're getting to know colleagues across the enterprise, they're interacting with leaders across the enterprise. And I think that's pretty powerful when you can add a project component to a program.
Yeah, absolutely. And the involvement, I think, is always, people love to be involved and be able to contribute and see how that's working. And I think that's so powerful. You mentioned earlier that you have a new LMS system, maybe with some AI components, I think I heard you say. What role does technology play in your programs, and how do you leverage different tools and platforms to kind of enhance learning and mentoring experiences?
So, as part of the launch of our new learning experience, we've created custom learning paths. So let's say I want to go in and, working in a global world, or, I want to level up on my project management skills, or, I really want to work on executive presence. We've put kind of these custom paths out there. So it makes it easy when somebody goes in the system to say, I need specific training on this topic, and we've already curated for that for you. And so what it does is it makes it easy, it makes it digestible, so the learner's not overwhelmed going in, wow, I've got 20,000 courses to pick from. They've already set it up for me, and then it just continues to build and add on it, and become smarter the more the person goes in. And so we're really trying to push people out there, to get out there, explore the content, explore the catalogs, the learning paths. And if there's something that's missing, to come back to us and say, hey, we need more training on conflict management or team leadership. Can you curate, something customized for us? And then we can put it out there for all learners. So I think once people see how easy it is to get in, get what you need very quickly, and it's engaging learning, because we evaluate all the learning that we put out there to make sure it's quality, it's engaging, they're taking something away, and then there's something from an application, standpoint once they take the course.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, there's always people can be hesitant to like technology, even, logging into a new platform. Sometimes it's like just getting them to log in. And then once they get in there and are like, oh, okay, then it's, they see how user friendly it is. Then it's like, okay. And then, but getting them over that initial hump can definitely be challenging sometimes. Michelle, switching gears a little bit, thinking about, obviously you've been in this space for a while, thinking about learning and development and, talent acquisition as a whole, and just how much things have rapidly evolved in the past 5 years or so, especially since COVID. What are some of the key takeaways that you've seen?
So I would say, I think going forward, companies are really going to have to get ahead on the AI. And an example I will share in learning development. So we have a lot of training on coaching and giving feedback. Well, you can teach, your AI, through Chat GPT or Copilot to say, I have to have a difficult conversation with, one of my team members. I need some coaching prompts, or kind of practicing through having that conversation. And so I think getting those just in time tools and getting the leaders comfortable to say, here's another mechanism for me to get the learning very quickly, just in time when I need it. And so we're starting to really look at our learning and how we shape our learning using the AI component. And I will tell you, AI coaching is becoming really big. And so I think rather than being afraid of AI, it's like jumping in to say, well, how does it complement the learning? Because people, again, they're looking for the quick hit, bite size. I don't have a ton of time. It shouldn't replace, certainly, I think the in-person, you always have the connection. So you need to couple that with follow-ups and conversations, and how are you applying it and how is it working? So you always have to make sure, in addition to AI, to have that human connection back to what the person is learning. And I think that's going to be more impactful than just doing, I think, one or the other, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Couldn't agree more. And I think I love what you said there, because it's just, like having that kind of supplement, to that quick, like instant supplement to the learning is super helpful. So to find a way to incorporate that into everything else, I think is the challenge, or is what people are trying to figure out right now.
Right, right, absolutely.
Michelle, to close on a positive note, what is the most important lesson that you've learned on your journey, your career, as a leader, that you would pass on to someone just starting out on theirs?
Great question. I would say for me, it's about raising your hand. It's looking for opportunities, whether it's the smallest project or somebody needs help, even though you think maybe it won't lead to a promotion, because the more you're out there, the more you're visible, the more you're learning, you're leveling up your skills, you're building your network, you're building your community. So I say, as much as you can get involved in different projects and just be curious, get out there and learn and contribute, your career is going to, just take off tremendously. And I would say for me, starting out training and development, design, very small. If I look back, I think it was a lot of the raising hand to say, what can I do? What can I do to help and support? And if I don't know, I'll go and I'll learn it. So you have to be a lifelong learner and really have that, I would say, that proactive drive, and take the initiative would be my advice.
Yes, absolutely. I love that. Keep raising your hand. That's such a good piece of advice. Michelle, thank you so much for joining us today on the NovoEDTalks podcast. It was an absolute pleasure having you here, and thank you so much for sharing all your experience. We really, really appreciate it.
Thank you, Melissa. Enjoy the conversation. Appreciate your time.
Awesome. And thank you to our listeners for tuning in to another episode of NovoEDTalks.